Hi guys, my name is Jack, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you in 2012 at the Summer Olympics in London. The star of a young Puerto Rican boxer, Felix Verdejo Sanchez shone. Brightly, he was called a diamond. One of the most promising and promised athletes of his country, he was predicted to win titles and gold medals. Then it seemed to everyone that this talented and motivated young man will reach fantastic heights in sports in 2021. The name of the boxer again traveled all the world's media, but this time fell into the section of criminal chronicles. This story is about a teenage attachment that grew into a kind of addiction and led to a terrible tragedy, and also about how the author of the main knockout of 2014, who was praised and promoted by two-time Olympic champion Vasyl Lomachenko, almost received a death sentence, but eventually went to prison for life. It is noteworthy that despite the presence of irrefutable evidence and confessions of the boxer's accomplice, he himself to this day refuses to plead guilty. The future star of world boxing was born in the Puerto Rican city of San Juan in 1993. On May 19th, he grew up in a rather modest large family, and from an early age was fond of port. True, in childhood he planned to connect his life with baseball, but his further fate was determined by a funny incident. When the boy was 9 years old, a family friend came to visit them with his son of the same age the boys were, playing in the yard, but suddenly quarreled and a fight broke out. Parents separated the children, and the father of the future athlete noted that if he wants to fight with someone in the future, let him wear boxing gloves after that fight. Felix, at his request, was taken to a local gym where the boy, as he later admitted himself from the first training session, fell in love with boxing at the age of 16. He won the Pan American Junior Championships. A year later, he won his country's championship, and a year later he went to the Olympic Games in London, where he reached the quarterfinals in the same year. Began his brilliant career in the professional ring. In total, Verdejo had 29 fights, gaining 27 confident victories, and in 2014 he was recognized as the author of the best knockout in the fight against Sergio Villanueva. A year later, Felix won his first championship belt with the WBO Latino title, which he subsequently defended 6 more times in 2 years. Everyone who saw him in the fight had no doubt this young man will write his name in the history of world boxing. And now let's get to know Keishla Rodríguez. The girl was born in November 1993 in San Juan. The full name given to her at birth is Keishla Marlene Rodríguez Ortiz. Her parents, Jose and Keishla Rodríguez, had another common daughter, Bears Nicole, and also the couple raised Keishla's son Jonathan from a previous marriage of a woman. Keishla grew up an open and sociable girl. She did well in school and adored animals, dreaming of becoming a veterinarian. In the future, her best friend was her sister Rodríguez, to whom she confided all her secrets and worries. Kay studied in the same school with Felix Verdejo, who was her age. Young people were acquainted since childhood, and in adolescence between them began a romantic relationship in 2011. Rodríguez's parents divorced and separated. Keishla moved to relatives in Florida, and her daughters, who were by then already adults, decided to stay in San Juan. Despite the fact that each of the sisters had long since lived their own lives, they continued to stay in close contact and told each other about everything that was happening to them. At the age of 18, a promising boxer who has already managed to take part in the Olympic Games had an affair with a young schoolgirl and aspiring model Elisa Maria Santiago Sierra. At that time, the girl was only 14 years old and she was still in school, but even then she made big plans for the future with a promising and world-famous athlete. In addition, Elisa's parents were not at all against this relationship. Attractive and talented Felix, who has always had a lot of fans, becoming a boxing star, literally bathed in the rays of fame and was surrounded by female attention. He did not miss the opportunity to spin a novel or a passing affair on the side, and also, despite the serious relationship with Elisa, continued to meet with his school friend Keishla. Keisha's sister Rodríguez and her mother Keishla Rodríguez knew about the affair and did not approve of the relationship. In addition, the situation was very ambiguous. On the one hand, Elisa considered herself the only woman and great love of the athlete, was preparing for the wedding and made far-reaching plans for their joint future. On the other hand, Keishla knew that the lover has a fiancé, but at the same time, Felix did not let her go. On top of that, he was her first great love and deep Down the naive girl herself still hoped to be the one. In 2016, the boxer did marry the young Eliza, who at that time was nearly 19 years old. Eliza by that time was already quite a famous model, had tens of thousands of followers in social networks, and also opened her own beauty studio for eyelash extensions in August of the same year. Just a few months after the wedding, the athlete got into a serious car accident. When he was rushing on his motorcycle, he was taken to the hospital. In serious condition with head injuries, bruises, and lacerations. His trainer Ricky Marquez seriously feared that his talented charge would go off the rails at the height of his career. But Felix, contrary to the disappointing prognosis, made a rapid recovery and soon returned to the ring in September 2019. The boxer published in his profile in the social network a picture with Elise, who was in a large term of pregnancy. In the comment to the photo he wrote, "Soon, I will meet my daddies, Princess," and a month later, he announced the birth of a daughter who was given the name Miranda Verdejo Santiago. The young man in public looked like a loving husband, caring father, and an exemplary family man, but secretly from his wife, he continued to meet with Keishla, who could not let go. As Eliza later admitted, she guessed that her husband was cheating on her. But every time he tearfully vowed to leave his mistress, Keishla repeatedly tried to break off this painful relationship. But Felix would not let her go. She had no other men because the boxer threatened that if he found out about the fact that Keishla had someone not good for her, and her chosen one, Keishla herself, who had fallen in love with Verdejo since high school, continued to love him despite everything Rodríguez has planned, connected her life with the care of animals, and got a job at the Center of Veterinary Medicine and Aesthetics. Colleagues described her as conscientious, hardworking, and very responsible. She lived with 2 dogs and a cat which she simply adored. In 2020, Eliza CED, the correspondence of her husband with several mistresses including Keishla. The wife gave her husband a scandal and threw him out of the house, threatening that she would file for divorce and forbid him to see his daughter. Eliza's threats had an effect in addition in the career of the athlete. At that time, there was a serious decline and unnecessary problems were, he did not need for a while. He really stopped seeing Rodríguez, but Felix still did not let her go, trying to control almost every step. Kay, after a few months of secret visits, resumed, and in April 2021, Keishla discovered that she was pregnant. She bought a rapid test at the drugstore, which only confirmed her fears. She first called her sister, who was aware of her complicated relationship with the athlete, and told her everything. It was out of the question to have an abortion, because Keishla was already 27 years old, and she was ready to have a child even if she had to raise it on her own. A few days later, Keishla broke the news to the father of her child, hoping in her heart that he would accept it. But Felix was not happy, to put it mildly. He got angry and told his mistress that she should go to the doctor, and if the pregnancy is confirmed, it will be necessary to have an abortion naturally. Rodríguez answered him with a firm refusal, but the boxer began to threaten her and insist. Felix said that an illegitimate child will finally destroy his reputation, and this he cannot allow. After Keisha's visit to the hospital, her pregnancy was confirmed, and she now had a certificate to prove it. She called Felix and told him everything, which made him furious. Felix shouted and demanded that Keishla immediately get rid of the child, but she again responded with a categorical refusal. Then the athlete decided to go on the sly, saying that he did not believe her and wanted to personally look at the issued medical certificate. He appointed Keishla a meeting in the evening in a crowded place, which did not surprise her, because they always tried not to draw attention to themselves and do not get in front of anyone. A few days before the meeting, the boxer stopped by his old friend Luis Antonio Cadiz, who worked in a local machine shop and also had ties with the criminal world selling illegal drugs. Felix briefly outlined the situation and asked him to help him get rid of his pregnant mistress. Louis had previously been in the field of vision of the police, and the prospect of being in prison scared him. But the athlete was persistent, assured that everything would go smoothly and the police will never come out on them. Besides, Felix promised him an impressive cash reward, and Luis agreed with the support of an accomplice. Felix called Keishla and told her that he wanted to meet her on the evening of April 29th to confirm her pregnancy and decide what to do next immediately after talking to her love. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel.